now, moving over to the cage, we have the Elimination 175-pound championship on the line. Joshua Cordova versus Zarek Jackson. And boy, this is another one that you might not want to blink, ladies and gentlemen.
Looking at the tail of the tape here, Zarek Jackson does have the height advantage. Very quickly, though, getting away from that.
Both of these guys are undefeated. I believe Cordova is 5-0, Zarek is 4-0. Seasoned fighters. Both of these guys have knockout power and submissions for days. This could be a very interesting fight.
You can look at Zarek Jackson's back. All those bruises that you're seeing on them is from cupping therapy. Cupping therapy is basically superimposing bruising on an area of the body to help them rehab, but immediately... Oh,
Cordova's got a rear naked choke locked in.
Jackson doing a nice job with the hand fighting here. That was exactly what he had to do, but Cordova making adjustments, going back to it. Cordova might want to switch gable grip here, see if he can close that off. Jackson in a lot of deep trouble early in the fight here.
Yeah, if he can go palm to palm on this right here, that's going to prevent Jackson from being able to control that arm. Jackson doing an amazing job. Cordova switches to a body triangle.
Wise move, because Jackson was starting to turn in. And what Cordova needs to be wary of here is burning out his arms. Jackson doing exactly what he needed to do by way of defense, and now he's escaped the danger of the choke, at least momentarily.
That was a beautiful, beautiful defense by Jackson. And that's one of those spots where that was still tight. And if you're not a seasoned fighter, you start to freak out when you feel like you can't breathe, and you see a lot of guys tap to that. That's experience. Because, JR, oxygen's important.
Oxygen is important. Studies have shown.
Now Zarek is trying to turn around in this, obviously does not want Cordova on his back. Cordova's kind of just throwing some little shots at him here, just chipping away at that face.
And now the body triangle is broken.
So starting to get the turn in is Jackson. Nice job by Jackson getting the turn in. Let's see what kind of work he's able to put in from top position. Immediately trying to transition and improve his position, see if he can bring that right leg through from out, and he has it.
And now Zarek Jackson has Cordova's back. Both hooks are in. He's riding a little bit high, though. He's got to settle back or break Cordova down. There we go. Broken down. Both hooks are in. Just needs to flatten him out. And this is a very dangerous position.
Big punch is working for Jackson. Yes, indeed.
What I'd like to see Jackson do is go double underhooks and flex his legs out to completely flatten Cordova down.
And make no mistake, Jackson trying to do exactly that. Cordova knows what he needs to do by way of keeping his knees in tight. 10-second clackers sounded. First half of the round went Cordova's way. Second half of the round went Jackson's way. Great fight.
Big shots at the end by Jackson. And we just got cut off. Cordova escapes. Jackson got them out right at the end of the round.
And that is a very hard round to score. You've got a reversal, you've got submission attempts on both sides, you've got Jackson mounting at the very end. Don't want to be a judge.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but I would say the grappling fairly even. Both spent a decent amount of time with dominant position. Both tried their submissions. What won it for me in Jackson's eyes was the fact that he had some damaging ground and pound.
I would have to agree with that.
And here we see how Cordova able to get the back, get this fight down to the mat early on. But man, Zarek just so calm. And Gilbert Small-Smith in the corner of Mr. Jackson, a former UFC fighter, a former Bellator fighter. He actually made an appearance on the Night Fight series, Full Armored Combat. So, ton of experience in the corner of Jackson, letting him know what to do. And that's why Jackson able to escape those positions, because he's put in bad spots every day.
Jackson now pressing against the cage. Look, he's trying to grab the foot to get Cordova on the ground, and he does.
That was a great ankle pick.
For that ankle pick,
and
yes.
Look at a headlock. Oh, and right back up before I could even tell you what was going on, ladies and gentlemen.
And Cordova has almost got away with a bit of a cage grab there. Referee Tom Johnson right on top of it, and body lock takedown there for, for Mr. Jackson.
Both these guys can scramble very well, and it's hard to hold either one of them down. You've got to really secure a position once you get one of these guys to the ground, otherwise it's coming right back up.
And neither one of these guys seems to have any interest in separating here or trying to turn this into a striking match. They both want to show off their grappling prowess.
What's tough about all this throwing that they're both trying to do and all this grappling and getting each other on the ground, it is exhausting. It is very, very tiring. Now Cordova has the back. He's going to try to transition to the choke again. He almost locked it in the first round. I would not be surprised if he tries to do it again.
Oh, wow, what a stand-up by Jackson.
That is a textbook maneuver also. Pull the forearm across, spin out, and straight back up to his feet.
Oh, and a horrific low blow.
Yikes.
Oh, it was inadvertent. There was no ill intent on that. It just happened to miss the target it was going for, which was the abdomen. But that strike was thrown with lots of power.
Yeah, and Cordova looked over into his corner and just went, wow. And I have to agree with that. That would not be a pleasant feeling.
Relax and breathe. Keep having fun.
Referee telling Cordova you have a little bit of time, but if you say we're ready to go, then away we go.
Yeah, and for fight fans back home, anytime there's an illegal blow, eye poke, groin strike, anything like that, you do have 5 full minutes to recover from that. So that's why the referee was asking Cordova, are you sure you're okay? It's time to go. You know, you don't have to go yet.
And I'd say Cordova's okay. He's already pressing forward, but Jackson dumps him.
Cordova came forward with ferocity there.
And he's got a guillotine locked in. I can't tell if he's got that arm inside or not. He does not. However, Jackson is in mount right now, so it's a relatively safe position, but that is still very tight. You can turn that into a blood choke.
Squeezing hard. Cordova trying to close it off. The difficulty is he does not have control of the hips of Jackson. If he had him inside his guard, he could push those hips away, and that allows more leverage. But Jackson here, in the position that he's in, just going to wait for Cordova's arms to burn out, going to pop his head free, and then going to enjoy the work that it took him to get into mount position.
And that's another one of those.
Looking to set up a Kimura. Oh, and that's tight. Cranking hard is Jackson.
There it is.
Almost reaching for the tap. Oh, wow, that was so close. Cordova shows his toughness again. Now Jackson having to work off of his back. What a wonderful back and forth fight the fans are being treated to here.
What an incredible job by both fighters on the ground. I mean, they both stayed patient. They weren't trying to overexert themselves. And, I mean, we just saw some incredible, incredible wrestling and grappling by each fighter. So, I mean, again, if you're in Cordova's corner, well, what are you guys saying?
What I'd like to see is Cordova has phenomenal striking. His ground game is good, but he has great striking, as you can see on the replay here. He comes back out and just throws some good combos. I'd like to see him stick to that.
And I mean, if you're Jackson again, he's looked for the Kimura every time he's been on top of Cordova. So clearly that's something that he's practiced successively.
And Jackson would have had that. All he needed to do was step out of mount into side control, and he would have had the leverage. That's a very hard submission to pull out of full mount.
Yeah, and the difficulty there is the side that he needed to step to was blocked by the cage.
Exactly. Good kick by Cordova.
There's the striking you wanted. Nice stabbing kick by Jackson to the thigh of Cordova.
Good job of hand control by Jackson right now, sinking his hips low, controlling the hands to try to not get tossed. Able to turn himself.
At the Kimura.
Yes, he is.
He loves that Kimura, that's for sure.
Good knee by Cordova, boy. Jackson bent over when he received that knee. That's really tough. Hard to flex your abs and help ward off some of the power of that strike. Man, both these guys, just great technique, but their willingness to grind, wow.
Again, we see it again, guys. We have two guys that have expended so much energy. It just comes down to who's got more left in the tank. I mean, I've said it a lot in a lot of fights, but that's a big component of MMA, of boxing, of kickboxing.
And Cordova went for the hip toss, but if Jackson can sneak his head out, which he does, he comes right back into full mount, and now he's not against the cage. Cordova might be able to try to use his leverage on the cage with his legs right now to flip, but this is not a good spot for Cordova.
Jackson is just so slippery on the ground. Cordova can't get anything, and now he's starting to put down some shots on Cordova.
Starting to work the ground and pound. Let's see if he sets up a Kimura from this position as though like he did earlier.
And a good job of controlling. Cordova was trying to give up his back, and Zarek was having none of it. Held him down in mount.
Good bump by Cordova. He's doing some of the things that you're supposed to do from this position. Try to bridge and roll. Try to unbase your opponent. Try to get him to shift their hip position. But Jackson, like we talked about, training with a room full of killers every day. Armbar.
Pulls the armbar. And he lost it.
But
He got it.
Hands just slipped off. Cordova going to be able to secure his way into back control for himself. And as we've seen all fight, back and forth action.
Every time Jackson thinks he has Cordova in a bad spot, Cordova manages to switch it.
And every time Cordova thinks that he's got Jackson in a bad spot, Jackson slips right out of it.
Jackson looking to set up the head and arm throw. Only 10 seconds left. Referee Tom Johnson letting the fighters know it's almost at the end. Couple of good knees coming up for Cordova at the end. Wow, the judges have a tough job ahead of them.
What a fight.
Yes, they do. That was such a back and forth endeavor. I have no idea how to score it. I wouldn't want to be a judge. There was so much action, and I can legitimately say each fighter controlled about half of each round.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I have no idea. I really, truly don't. Both fighters tried to lock in positions on the ground and were able to escape from one another. Both tried their hand submissions and escaped. Here's the Larry H. Miller replay.
Here's where we saw him going for the armbar.
Scorecards. Judge Hilsebeck scores about 29-28. Judge Thrasher scores about 29-28. And Judge Van Tine scores about 30-27. Declaring your winner by unanimous decision and new Sparta Combat League 170-pound champion, Zarek Jackson.
Well, the grappling exchanges very, very even. Might have been the damage that was landed by Jackson with some of the ground and pound. It's like we talked about, everything else looked just so close. Congratulations to our title winner. Gets to make the drive home to Colorado Springs with the belt. Victory MMA fighter, Mr. Zarek Jackson.
And we will be back right after this for the conclusion of the King of Sparta tournament to crown the new 135-pound champion and see who takes home $10,000.